Stampers, welcome to the craft room. Today I'd like to show you how I created this background using my Daisies number 2 die for the Big Shot. So let's get started. I went ahead and ran the Daisies number 2 die through the Big Shot with a piece of acetate, and you can do this using window sheets. I used a piece of blue acetate for the purposes of this video so that you could actually see things. If it was clear, it would be a lot more difficult to see. But I just ran it through as you would a piece of cardstock and ended up with two templates. I've got the background and then I actually have the daisies, and you can use both of these for different purposes. We're actually going to work with the daisies themselves. And I'm just going to bring in 2 pieces of Whisper White cardstock, and each of these pieces is 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and we're going to be working with both of them. And the first thing we're going to do is set our daisies down randomly on our surface. Again, just how you like the pattern. I'm going to move this out of the way just because everything's going to get covered with ink. I'm working on a craft sheet. You can work on a piece of freezer paper as well. That'll work just as well for you. And what I've done in these 2 small spray bottles, I've put a combination of water and 5 or 6 drops of ink, and I'm using the Island Indigo ink and also the Wisteria Wonder ink. And we're going to begin by spraying with our Wisteria Wonder ink, and again just spraying over your cardstock, getting some coverage. And then what we're going to do is carefully, very carefully remove the daisies. Now they're covered in ink right now, and that's a great thing because we're going to reuse them. So I'm just moving them over here out of the way. You can see already how this stencil is working on this piece of cardstock. Well, we're also going to work the other piece of cardstock as well. Since these are covered in ink, we're going to use them, so we're just going to turn them ink side down onto this piece of cardstock. Again, just randomly placing them onto the cardstock. Whoops! Missed that one, that's okay, we can go again. So randomly placing them onto the cardstock so that we get that print showing up as well. So I'm just going to press those down, and then we're going to lift those up. And again, it's going to be a nice light pattern. If you drop it again like that, not to worry, this is not a science. It is pretty random. So you'll start to see the different impressions that we're getting. And then I also have all of this ink here on my sheet, so you can go ahead and start to kind of dab that up as well. It's going to create some random marks on your cardstock, and you can go back and take this one and pick up some of that ink as well. Then what we want to do before we go to our next stage is we want to take a paper towel and just gently clean off our craft sheet and also our stencils. So let me set this aside and just take a paper towel and wipe things down to dry them, and then we're also going to dry our stencils. And I make sure that I do this after each time just because I don't want remnants of colors to be on the stencils and then have them show up on another project if those weren't the colors I was looking for. So now that all 3 of those are just about clean, let me get that reverse side, and our surface is clean, we're going to bring these both back in again, and I'm going to go ahead and lay the stencils down again onto this piece of cardstock, again randomly placing them. And this time I'm going to use the Island Indigo that I have in this bottle with water and going to gently mist. Again, you can do this gently, you can do it darker for more color, that all depends on what you want to do. And then again, we're going to bring in our other piece and set these down so that we can pick up those impressions from the daisies that are wet. And again, I'm just going to use my paper towel so I don't get ink all over my fingers, which I'm going to do anyway, and we're going to pick these up. Now I'm using a little bit darker palette than I used for this card here. So for these I'm using the Wisteria Wonder and Island Indigo. For this one I used the Wisteria Wonder and the Pool Party. I just wanted, again, to have something darker to show up on the video. And again, we can come in and start to pick up this extra ink, dabbing our cardstock into that extra ink, which gives us more of a watery, kind of watercolor kind of look. And we can do it again with this one as well. And then what we want to do is let these dry, and you can hurry that along with your heat tool or not. Sometimes you'll find after having been saturated with so much water and ink, the cardstock won't lay flat, and you can go ahead on a very low temperature and actually iron your cardstock down once it's dry so that it becomes flat again. And there you have it, a really fun way to use your Daisies number 2 die and your window sheets to create some stencils that you can use to create some really pretty backgrounds for your cards and papercraft projects. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon here in the craft room.